Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Macomb meeting of the Warren Astronomical Society. I'm as the first vice president of the Warren Club. I fill in for Bob Tremblay, our president, when he can't be here. I'm very sorry to tell you that his father-in-law passed away this morning. Bob and Connie have been taking care of her parents at home for some time, and they could see this coming, I think. So very sad news, and that's why I'm standing in for Bob this evening. Do we have any first-time attendees here this evening? You want to give your name and why you're here, John?
John McGill. Some of you guys know me.
Okay. John McGill is our one new person in the room who is also going to be giving our presentation. Welcome, John. Anybody new online? If so, why don't you unmute yourself and say hello? I guess not. Let's see here. I got notes from Bob about what to do. So let's do a roll call. What we do is we go back and forth through the rows of people here in the room and give your name, and if you're one of the officers, what your office is. So why don't we do it from the front to the back, starting, well, so that would be, I'm Dale Parton, first vice president.
I'm Dale Falcon, regular member.
Real loud so they can maybe hear.
Yeah, I'm Miguel. Tim Lawless, just member. Member. Bob Murrah, member. Past president. Now retired.
Carrie Rhinus, second time visitor.
Good, welcome. Second time visitor.
Michael Gagnon, second time as well.
Good.
Same with them, Michael Gagnon as well.
Okay. Okay, welcome, second timers. Yeah. Okay.
Tina Wong, card carrying member.
Tina Wong says she's a card carrying member. That sounds serious.
Charles Strackbine, secretary. Pete Lemire, another card carrier.
Okay, great. And I see another officer coming down the hall. You want to introduce yourself? Okay, definitely fine. Okay. A reminder that it's now February, and for those who are members and have not renewed your membership yet for 2025, please be reminded to do that. David, our treasurer, is not here. I don't know what's going on with him. There's a way to do it online through PayPal, or you can just go to the website. You can see how to connect with David, and he'll tell you how to pay up. Or for new people, if you'd like to join, what does it cost for a membership for a year?
$30.
$30 for seniors like me. It's I think 22. And for a family membership, it's an extra $7, I think, something like that. And for students, it's even 17. Okay. And for anyone who would like it, we can get you one of these things, yeah, like this, that you can wear on your neck. I've got one, which I was in a rush to get here, and I forgot I left mine in my car, wouldn't you know it. With, just a Warren Club badge with your name on it. Helps to get to know each other. Let's see. So it doesn't cost anything to get one of those if you're interested. Let's see here. Now, in terms of upcoming events, on March the 1st, Tina, do you remember if that's a Friday evening or a Saturday evening? Saturday evening. We've got a special event at Cranbrook. We have a meeting once a month here and once a month at Cranbrook on the first Monday of the month. And they don't charge us anything for having those meetings there. And yet they do expect something from us. They have an astronomy event every so often, and they ask that we come, and we're the astronomer types with the telescopes, right? So on March the 1st, they would like to have people there with telescopes and they're going to invite lots of people to come and look through them at the planets and so forth. So if you would like to participate and can help out with that, please let either Tina know or tell me. Oh, tell Jeff. That's great. No. You can tell Jeff. That's Jeff's trying to keep his head down in the back row.
Any of our emails.
Okay, let's see here. So we need volunteers. We have some Warren Club wearables, shirts and things. Mark Kedzier is the one who's the keeper of that stuff. He's not here right now. I'd also like to again announce that our annual picnic is on Saturday, August the 23rd. It's our annual picnic. We meet over at Stargate Observatory or close to it there. There's a pavilion. We have a meal together at dinner time, and then of course we can stay and do observing in the evening. Another thing going on is GLAC, the Great Lakes Amateur Astronomy Clubs, or Great Lakes Association of Astronomy Clubs. This is the organization that puts on Astronomy at the Beach, which is the biggest event, astronomy type event in Southeast Michigan, where all the astronomy clubs get together on a Friday and Saturday night and have a major outreach to the public. Astronomy at the Beach this year is going to be September 26th and 27th. Jeff is one of our representatives, right, Jeff?
I haven't attended the meeting.
But you're going to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the hope is that we can have 2 people representing each club. So if somebody else would like to join Jeff in being our representatives and help out. That's what it says here, yes.
Are they gonna have it at a normal location this year?
Jeff, do you know where they're gonna have it? Do you know where?
Yes, it should be back at Island.
Okay.
Should be back at Island Lake.
I know. I believe it is gonna be back.
Okay.
The other one's better.
In some ways, not in others.
Okay, so let's do some quick officer reports. We usually have a little more extensive officer reports when we're at Cranbrook. Bob's not here. Bob Tremblay, our president. As first vice president, my biggest job is to find speakers. I am always looking for speakers. Okay. I just got another speaker this evening standing outside the door waiting to get the door unlocked. Bob is going to give a talk soon. We'll have to get it scheduled, but if anyone else online or here has not even just an idea for something you'd be interested in talking about, please let me know. Riyadh, I think I saw Riyadh online.
Yes. Hi, hello, everyone. Last meeting, we had an open house on the 25th. And it was extremely packed house, actually, because people came out looking for the alignment of the planets and so on. So we had probably well over 100 people at the observatory, and some people coming and others leaving. So it was a really successful open house. Luckily, we had a nice clear sky to view the planets. So that was wonderful. The next open house is this Saturday, this coming Saturday. And right now, it looks like we may get some partly cloudy skies around 8 o'clock or so to maybe for the next 2-3 hours after that. So we may get another chance to look at different objects in the sky again. So hopefully you'll come out and join us, and we'll have a lot of fun. Dress warmly, obviously.
I dress
Thank
warm.
you.
So this Saturday,
This Saturday.
okay. One thing I intended to do during my little report a minute ago was to tell you who the speakers are for the next couple of meetings. Cranbrook is our next regular meeting, first Monday next month. There we have two speakers, one giving a full-length, regular length talk and the other a short presentation. The full-length talk is going to be a little unusual in that it'll be a video presentation. John Blum is a member of this club, and his daughter is working toward becoming a doctor of space medicine. And she recently gave a presentation on that. It was videotaped. So we're going to play that as the main presentation. Then you're stuck with me for the short presentation. Somebody else was going to do it, and they had some issues. Frankly, it was Bob Tremblay who was going to do it, and then his father-in-law got into terrible health and obviously just passed away. So I'm filling in for Bob. That talk, I guess I'll call it a poor man's measurement of longitude. I recently gave a talk on a poor man's measurement of latitude. Okay, so if you're poor and all you've got is a stick in the ground and your wristwatch, how do you determine your longitude? Okay, that'll be a short presentation. Then a month from now, when we're back here, Andy Epton is going to give a presentation on mass extinctions. Mass extinctions. There have been a few times in the history of the Earth where most species got annihilated. He's going to talk about that. So our treasurer is Dave Bransky. Dave, are you online or not?
During the meeting, I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So my apologies, my Zoom is not working the way that it should, but so for our checking account, we've got about 23,000 in there. Last month we did do a 500 gift to the scholarship to the Macomb Paul Strong thing. We paid that. We did that through our credit card. So that bill came up, so we paid that. So in our PayPal account, we've got about $894 in there. Cash, we got about $300 in the cash box. So we do have funds available. And relative to the Ukrainian village, I did start with some contacting them earlier this month. I'm going to contact them again about getting that set up as far as the end of the year banquet. So that's going on, and I think that's about it.
All right, thank you. David briefly mentioned the fact that we just gave $500 to Macomb Community College into a scholarship fund. We've been doing that for several years now. it's called the Paul Strong Memorial Scholarship. Paul Strong used to be a physics and astronomy faculty here at Macomb. He was instrumental in starting to get us to have meetings at Macomb back when the club was young. For many, many years, he provided us, in essence, with access to a room on this campus where we could have meetings, and he has passed away. But we set up a scholarship fund in memory of him and in appreciation that Macomb Community College gives us a place to meet. We don't pay them anything. Well, we give them a scholarship, but there's no fee for meeting here. And we participate, the board participates in choosing who gets the scholarship each year. They give us a list of promising candidates and ask for our inputs. Okay. Charlie, you want to say anything, Mr. Secretary? He's coming up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Strackbein, and I'm the secretary of this organization. And our January meeting notes were published in February's newsletter, the WASP here. And also, I have name tags. They're in my car. If anybody doesn't have their name tag, you can meet me out by my car in the parking lot here, and I'd go through them. Or you can see me at the Cranbrook meeting there on the 1st, and again at the next meeting here. So I do have name tags, and that's really all I have to report right now. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Jeff, why don't you come up?
Cranbrook meeting's on the 3rd. Don't go to Cranbrook on the 1st. Well, actually do go to Cranbrook on the 1st because that's when they're having their.
Why don't you say that here?
Where am I here? All right. So, past events, we had the big thing at Cranbrook. I think it was a success. Yes. I wasn't able, to make it, but they had several hundred people, show up for the big planetary alignment where they all coincide into one point on the sky. No, so, they're doing a repeat March 1st. We've talked about it. Please, if you can participate, you have to. The only other event I have on the book, Dale Parton's going to help out some Girl Scouts get an astronomy badge on the 10th. If you're going to be in the Ann Arbor area tomorrow night, I'm doing my Apollo talk to the lowbrows. It's a good one. And then you're a Ford Club guy. What's the date for the swap meet?
Well, now that you got it.
It's not next week, but it is coming up. It's an awesome event. So we will definitely get information out to you when it gets a little closer. If you've never been, definitely check it out. They do lectures. They have a bunch of tables set up. You can get access to seeing equipment that you normally would have to choose to buy online, sight unseen.
We are trying to call it the astronomy conference.
Yeah.
And swap.
Yeah, it's way more than a swap meet. They have a lot of stuff and food and all kinds of good stuff.
April 5th.
April 5th. April 5th, that's first contact day. If you're a Star Trek nerd. Also, this isn't really outreach, but it is the 63rd anniversary of our first orbital flight, John Glenn Friendship 7. 63 years ago today. 3 orbits. Not too shabby.
I remember it.
I'm gonna try. I don't think I have.
Okay. Vatshalya is our officer in charge of publications. I think she's doing international travel tonight. Speak up, Vatshalya, if you're online. Failing that, Dale Teamy is hosting this meeting from an IT perspective. And he's our editor. Dale, you want to say anything?
Well, the WASP is online, obviously.
Dale,
And I
is,
think there's still a few calendars left to sell. I'm not sure.
okay. Thank you. Dale is the one who puts together the WASP. Have our second timers seen the WASP yet? Okay, you really should check it out. It's online. It's beautiful. It's like getting a free astronomy magazine each month.
Where do you find that?
I can show you that.
Your pizza
I'll find
timer
it.
is done.
You just go to our website up there.
Alexa, turn off the pizza timer.
Says newsletter. Just click on that. And our website is warrenastro.com or .org.
I have a hard copy here. I'll loan it to you for your email.
Okay. Is David Levy online?
Yes, he is.
David, speak to us, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I just was reminded today that there was a meeting and I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to tell you all that last weekend I was in Flagstaff to help celebrate the 95th anniversary of the discovery of Pluto by Clyde Tombaugh, someone I knew very well. While I was there, I was able to go through some of the poems that I have quoted in the past. And I'd like to share with you now my very favorite one. It was also Wendy's favorite. It was Ralph Hudson's The Song of Honor, and I'm going to quote the final few lines of that poem. I stood and stared. The sky was lit. The sky was stars all over it. I stood. I knew not why. Without a wish, without a will, I stood upon that silent hill and stared into the sky until my eyes were blind with stars, and still I stared into the sky. Thank you very much for letting me do my poem, and back to you, Dale.
Okay, thank you, David. I presume you're in Arizona, right?
I am at my home in Arizona.
Okay, thank you. One of our more remote members, but a very faithful one in sharing poetry with us that relates to astronomy. Some years ago, got a doctorate in English literature with, I think, some kind of emphasis on astronomy. Is that right, David?
Yes, I actually did it at the Hebrew University, and it was the night sky in the time of Shakespeare. That was my dissertation title that I managed to do in about 10 years. It was a lot of fun to work on.
Okay, thank you. So let's do astronomy in the news. This is the point where Bob always likes to tell us how many exoplanets we now have. So he told me the number today. There's a distinction between confirmed exoplanets. We're essentially sure that a given exoplanet is for sure, it's there, and a bunch of others that are candidates yet to be checked out. So the numbers are, for confirmed exoplanets, we're now up to 5,834, and candidates 7,372. Bob adds a comment here that the European Gaia satellite has been doing ultra precise measurements of millions of stars, their exact positions and so forth. I think Gaia either was just recently ceased operations or soon will because they're running out of fuel or something. Seemed like I read that. But they release data every so often, and they've got some more data released, big data releases to do. And there are indications that they have, by doing the measurements that satellite did, there are many, many more exoplanet discoveries that will be coming out when they release more data. So are there any special interest groups that want to speak? One such group is concerned with solar observations. We're near the solar, somewhere near solar maximum right now, with lots of sunspots. Bob had a comment here about extreme compression of Earth's magnetosphere. He says during last May's solar superstorm, when the sun burps out an extra big amount of protons and magnetic field and so forth, and it hits the Earth, it pushes on the Earth's magnetic field, and it highly distorted the Earth's magnetic field. According to an article in Space Weather, it was so squashed that geosynchronous satellites that are about 23,000 miles up, normally they're inside the Earth's magnetic field and they get some protection from cosmic rays and solar wind. But the solar wind pushed so hard, pushed the Earth's magnetic field down below them. So they got an extra radiation hit during that time. But they all survived. We didn't lose any of those satellites. Another special interest group is one that Riyadh is associated with, double stars. Riyadh, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, what we normally do is when we're out at the open house, we will have a list of, I usually have a list of double stars for that particular part of the sky and that part of the year, where we would look for some of the most beautiful doubles and some really challenging ones. And this coming Saturday in a couple of days is no different. So especially if the sky is mediocre, that's a really good way to use up the night, where you can't really see dim, deep sky objects easily, but double stars will come right through, along with planets as well. So we'll be looking for them this Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're always open to, if somebody wants to start a new special interest group, for example, on radio astronomy, computers and technology used for astronomy, education, podcasting, light pollution, or something else. Don't be shy. Next thing I'd like to cover is observing reports. If people have been out and saw something interesting or took some pictures, you can share with us. Anybody have anything to share on that way?
Hasn't been very conducive weather.
Yeah, the Michigan weather hasn't been too good.
I have some things on AstroBin that
What's AstroBin?
that's where it's a depository where you can put Astro.
You want to show us some pictures?
Sure.
I assume these are pictures you took
Yeah.
with that little tiny thing you bought?
No, my bigger telescope.
Your bigger thing. Okay.
Um,
You know how to plug yourself in here?
can I just Google? I just read a web page. How do you share?
That's me. How do you share?
Well, I'm trying to go back to the Zoom.
That blue thing. Click on
Bottom somewhere, green
Yeah.
arrow. If you know the bottom, sure.
Sure. There we go. Can you guys see it?
So January 26th was a clear night. It was very cold. Seeing conditions weren't great, but it was the first time I've got out to do some planetary in the better part of a year. I rarely can get Venus at my house because of trees. Normally I have to take a telescope to my front yard. In this case, Venus was actually quite high and I could see it from my telescope that's mounted up here in my backyard. So it's actually probably my best Venus because I don't image it very often, even though it's kind of fuzzy. That's monochrome color.
So Dale, why don't we see craters on Venus?
Clouds.
Clouds, you mean like Michigan weather?
There could be craters underneath there. We need to send a probe that can withstand the atmosphere more than 13 seconds, right?
I think some Russian stuff made it like
A minute,
hour or two.
an hour or two. Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
good stuff. I actually tried. I bought a new filter. I tried to get some ultraviolet images to see some cloud layers. I failed at that. So this is just monochrome. I need some more work learning how to do that.
I think, seemed like I heard somebody said using near infrared, they could make out some hazy features of the surface.
Yeah, you try to take infrared and then you try to combine it with ultraviolet in different spectrums and put some false color and you can see a little bit of the clouds, but there's not much signal in ultraviolet, so it's pretty tough. And this is the only image I've gotten of Mars in the last couple of years. Give a second. Come on, load up. I don't think it's as good as last time around. But it's probably the best I'm going to get in for this apparition.
I would say it's not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
I've never seen it that clear myself.
If you can see the mouse there, that is Olympus Mons right there. I believe. There's feature names for this. I don't know what side. You can see
Tell us what Olympus Mons is.
the large volcano, largest volcano in the solar system. That is visible in a from your backyard. This was done with an 11-inch telescope. And Jupiter, same night, all three. I had some technical difficulties. I had to keep coming back in to warm up because my hands and feet were frozen. But my telescope tended to work pretty well.
That's beautiful.
So gotten better before. Different conditions can affect.
Stop telling us you got it better before. This is good.
I know. I always like to see it when the red spot is visible. So it rotates quite quickly. So when the time that you look at it, it could be on the opposite side or around that round bend. And at the same time, I had my new little automated telescope out, whirring in the background. So here's a picture of the Orion Nebula I took with my C-Star S30. It's the small one. It was 16 minutes of integration. And the software now has built-in AI noise. So it got rid of the noise. So that's a pretty good image there for only 16 minutes of integration.
I would say so.
Yeah. Pretty impressed with these little things. I'm doing a talk next month at a competing club, sister club, member of the GLAC club's Seven Ponds. I'm updating my talk that I did here at this location about smart telescopes.
That was with your S30,
This is with the S30. Yeah.
which has the lens on that is
30 millimeters.
Okay.
And the same night, once Orion set, I did M81 and M82 galaxies, which can be seen pretty much northern hemisphere most nights.
So that's just one picture. It's not different ones that you had to put together to get that big a field of view.
That's the field of view.
Okay.
Well, it offers mosaics now, so it can expand to
Right.
larger than its sensor. So, but it's a smaller telescope and has a wider field of view than the other one, so I didn't have to use a for this. So both of those galaxies are close together, and that's what I got there. It's a little over 2 hours. So it was the rest of the night, and then I let it run all night, and I woke up in the morning and compiled the data and processed that image. So
You mean you sleep too?
I put my phone and my iPad next to my bed, and it runs all night, and hopefully it doesn't rain because it's out there in the weather. So but yeah, in the morning I close it up and download the data and see what I have.
Super.
Now for planetary, I'm sitting out in the cold, but for the other ones, I'm sleeping while imaging. So that's what I got for this one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Elysium Mons.
Hmm?
The volcano was Elysium Mons, not Olympus Mons. On Mars, your Mars image,
Yeah.
that bright spot in the upper right corner, it's Elysium Mons.
Oh, did I get the wrong volcano on that side? Okay.
No, is it correct?
Yeah.
Any other pictures or observing reports?
Dale?
Yeah,
We just got, a few minutes ago, we have, a quick email or a note actually from Doug Buck. There's gonna be a total lunar eclipse, March 14th. So, and it's a Friday, so hopefully we'll be able to see it if it's clear.
It is visible from this hemisphere.
March
It's the night of March 13th, the morning of the 14th.
Okay, thank you.
Wayanish peak, I think.
okay. So it's a Thursday night, Friday early morning?
Yes, it's mostly in the morning of the 14th for us, and it's a full eclipse.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
So any other observing reports or comments? Or anybody have an astronomy question? Okay. Well, we're going to take a break. Let's reconvene at 8 o'clock for our main presentation. And I saw Michael Dowd come in with some snacks, and Tina was helping, I think. She's shaking her head no. Yes.
Therese O'Donnell, is she still online?
Therese O'Donnell, are you still online? I guess not.
Haven't seen her for a while.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we'll be back. We'll leave this thing open, but we'll reconvene at 8 o'clock.
That was the Grand Region. Yeah, but what about the dark thing down there? Oh, so that's this one. Hold on. Okay, so that's the right. Yeah. Those two finger thing.
I'm not gonna be here for the first,
Got another volcano.
but,
You know, here's another one I
I
did.
have this,
Oh, that's sharp crater.
it's a Celestron origin. Do you, I was thinking if I could loan it to somebody
You got the
to use
curiosity.
for the first. Cause I'm gonna be in Arizona.
How big is it?
It's,
You know the diameter?
Therese is still online, Therese Oldani, just saying.
Yes, Olympus Mons.
Hello, Therese, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. And I'm watching and I'm loving seeing everybody. I haven't seen you guys in a while.
Great now.
This is roughly the same thing.
Okay.
Good to hear your voice, Teresa.
Well, I'm still here. I'm gonna watch the rest of it too.
Okay.
Sharp and Gill crater are right there. So that's where the
Tina.
is.
she doesn't have it, so
Yeah, Gail created a great something about that.
would know how to.
Mario, like they.
I don't know whether or not most people that come.
It's a casino. Oh,
This
this
is.
This house doesn't use.
I got some really good ones. That was a little before.
Doesn't have it.
Really only go out like, 2 months.
Your telescope is.
It's every 18 months.
I thought you had a couple like.
This is a different one.
Yeah, December
Yeah.
22 was the last.
This is too complicated for most people.
Yeah, I don't think. I
Get it hooked up there.
didn't even know if I'd go out there. I mean, I had to shovel to get to my telescope. Actually, one of my cameras broke.
In general, everybody ought to bring out.
Brandon.
The only person I know of who's coming is doesn't have the scope yet. It's Tina. So you can talk to her if you like. Okay.
I was thinking about you. Planetarium. I talked to the guy who. You know what, I took some things. They better think of it since I do. I downloaded that they were never looked at. They're like, you don't know, from the treasure. That might be the best solar data I've ever taken. Yeah. Oh, no. About 2 weeks ago, character. And I thought was going to be, whatever we decided we go to. So I took one, they were standing there to go this way and went down. I called for it.
What are you putting? Are they talking rocket launchers? How many have you been to?
Yeah.
Breaking. Well,
Yeah.
that's, as soon as this is heading out this year. They got the one that's launching Wednesday. It's going
Oh, I know.
to the moon. Oh, yeah?
Oh, she was there. I thought you were there.
SpaceX rocket. Yeah, it's sending it out. Cool. Yeah, and then Tuesday, we have photo op. They're taking us in. The VAB to start photographing the Artemis rocket. Yeah, it's already a set. It's all something. That's why they're bringing some salt stack. Now, they're supposed to take people to the moon. Yes, so around it. That's hopefully by the end of the year. Yeah, they say they have it thought out. They changed the trajectory that's gonna come in. But still, they're coming in. They're trying to go a little bit less. All right.
I guess it's. Oh, those are good.
Some other words that came up. This is word for a solid figure with 10 faces.
Well, how you doing, sir? Are you south or? Not the best of but there is not still more, there are plenty of trees that are not trying to this last mom have a short
You can't.
right now. So I am supposed to read.
Right, we'll go up for sunset, go up for sunset. Do that, say you went on it, and then, you know, and then go down there. You're better at 8,000 than.
You're better at 8,000.
Yeah. I don't know if
Your
that's.
equipment is better, but your eyes are better.
Yeah.
I get that.
However, that we said, so they can definitely work
I gotta start actually talking to people. But I think a lot of people were. See, only medicine that. So bitter taste in their mouths. Well, this is not juice, but. Most people don't know. You're only looking. So some of the stuff is around the hour.
That's my question.
So it's not something we're kind of. There's you're pulling in, there's that, there's like another kind of roundabout, kind of behind.
Yeah. The other side of the dome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it wrong? The punishment down.
So, yeah.
I was gonna say where it's.
Especially along the back of the car and set up. All set up and it's, you know, a lot of batteries increasing.
So.
Okay.
Pretty long.
Last year. What else? Went out in the backyard. Yeah.
I was gonna say that was like some money. All right, yeah, this is great. All right, have a good money.
Oh, some more research. We'll do it up here. Okay, that way I can talk to you guys and hear your questions. All right, so you're all set there, great. You might have to help them. All right.
Help them.
Okay, I'll stay.
Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, so I got a Zoom meeting now? Yes. Okay, so now first you want to do share. My dust mite? Well, let me, oh, sorry. Oh, okay, were you gonna try to hook directly? Well, no, I need this for my clicker. Oh, for the clicker. Okay. Well, I guess I don't need the clicker. Anyways, okay, let's get to the Zoom. Okay. What do you guys? Show caption, you know, we don't need that. Okay. So now let's do this. Share that. Share, you want to share your screen? Okay. Let's start broadcast. Okay. Okay, so now you can see what, okay, you're seeing it up there. Okay, so now you can go and bring up your presentation. Where's your presentation? Okay, that means coming up there. And slideshow. Yeah, see, I don't want to. You want to go to a different view, huh? Yeah, let me do this. So I don't want to have presenter view. So how do I change that? Yeah, that's just in your, whatever's on your screen. No, well, it's, yeah, but. Oh, Keynote, okay, I mean, I guess. Well, it's PowerPoint into Keynote. So it's, yeah, it's part of that's a Keynote setup that you're working with now. Okay, so you're already on Zoom, so that's fine. Now you just have to get to the. Okay, I don't want to go to presenter view, so I want to go to start. Okay, slideshow. Wait, see, review. From start. Oh, there we go. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Ready to go. Nothing can go wrong now, right?
Right. Now, I don't know what your plans are, but it would be good if you stayed here. and
Yeah.
talked, so that they can hear you and they can see you while you're giving the presentation. And you'll be up here in the corner, but more important, they can hear you. You're standing here. Use your
Sure.
clicker or whatever. Are you gonna try to play some video or just?
I have one video right at the beginning.
Okay.
That's why I say turn your, I'm gonna want you to turn your microphone off.
If I know how to do it. If I do, I don't know if it'll be right there.
You just click on it, not the arrow, but just click it.
Right here?
Yeah.
Now we can't hear anything on the Zoom channel.
Video.
Video?
Now, why did it? As soon as you turn the mic off, turn the mic off again.
Okay, I'll leave my mic on. While I give you an intro.
Well, if this one's on, how are you gonna have to turn that mic off?
For you guys, we're gonna get started. I can't whistle. Can you? I think it's great that we've got all these interesting discussions going on. But we do have a speaker here. And we'll have more opportunity for those that want to go to a restaurant together after this meeting to do a lot more conversation. Our main, what?
It's on this one, I can't turn this mic off. Okay.
Let me try turning this mic off. Okay, I'm gonna leave my mic on then.
No, try it. That doesn't sound.
Okay, how about now? That's not too good.
Yes. Let me turn this one back off.
Okay, my mic is on now. Okay, we may struggle a little bit for a few minutes here. What is this nonsense? I assume people can hear me unless somebody starts yelling or waving their hand. Okay, David is clapping his hands. I think that means we're okay. I've known our speaker for, I don't know how many years. Over a dozen for sure. John McGill, a longtime member of the Ford Astronomy Club. He tells me his passion for astronomy started when he was growing up in the 1960s with the early days of NASA and watching the Apollo moon landings. I think they made a big impression on a lot of us who are old enough to remember. And then he got into model rocket launching, and he still likes to play with that these days. My excuse is for doing it that I'm doing it with my grandkids.
Okay, that's my son.
Yeah, in fact, he says his middle-aged son developed an interest in astronomy during the 90s, and they bought an actual telescope.
I got one more thing to say. If David Levy hears this. Me and my son, we attended astronomy at the beach, and David Levy was a guest speaker. And that was back in the early 90s. And I tell you, David Levy, if you hear him talk with his passion, that can get anybody going in astronomy.
Wow. What a testimony, huh? So the other thing that's interesting about our speaker is he repairs a certain brand of Meade telescopes. Been doing this for a long time. Still doing it. Meade LX200 telescopes. He has customers worldwide, sending him, especially the electronics out of the scopes to repair, I guess, but other things too. I think that says something. There aren't many people left who know how to do that on those telescopes. John is a NASA credentialed launch photographer and a journalist who can give you a unique perspective of NASA's present-day space program, and we're going to get some of that perspective tonight. And when he's not covering rocket launches, he hosts planetarium shows at Henry Ford College or other outreach type events. And it's titled tonight, Up Close and Personal, hopefully not too close, rocket launch photography. Come on, John. You have to putz around with the sound. Wait.
Let's turn yours off. Okay, can everybody hear me? Yeah, I guess.
Try turning it down.
Can we turn that speaker off?
I don't know. I'm dangerous.
I think you got it.
How about now? Now, can people hear?
We're still getting a little. How about now?
That's better.
All right, let's do it from here then.
You won't be able to see John, but at least you can hear him.
Yeah, you should be able to see me on mine.
Oh, okay.
Let me turn that on. Okay. Okay, there we go. Let's see. All right. Stop share. No, I don't want to stop share. Is it coming through yet? Okay, there we go. All right, now let's see where we go. Back here.
Somebody online. David,
All right.
can you hear what he's saying?
All right, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, good. Well, let's
Clicker.
yeah, let's try this. We'll see, because I can't see it on here. Okay, the title of this presentation. It's Up Close and Personal Rocket Launch Photography. And let's get into this first one. What I'm going to do is play a little video first. And this is going to kind of set the stage, because right now we're starting, I'm calling it the Artemis generation, where first we had the Apollo generation. And with the Apollo generation, basically, there was no women in the Apollo program. And then we went to the shuttle generation. Then we started getting women into the program. And now with the Artemis program, we want to put the first woman and the first person of color on the moon. So each one is a stepping stone. And let me just play this. It's about 7 minutes.
It got really quiet here at the Kennedy Space Center. But I don't think anyone really could have envisioned where we are today.
Lift off. Can you hear that?
Today, weather permitting, Atlantis will display its power and spectacle one last time under the direction of Flight Director Richard Jones.
And the shuttle was sort of iconic. You know, there weren't many spaceships that looked like it. There weren't any that landed like it. And I think it had become sort of so commonplace. Yeah, you know, this shuttle flies 6 times a year. It has done it ever since I was a little kid, or even before I was born. And I think it just became a bit of a surprise to the world.
Can you turn yours up there, Dale?
It's not going to fly anymore.
Here's our commander, Chris Ferguson. He's in the suit-up room, going over to pilot Doug Hurley. And here they come.
I always looked upon a shuttle flight as preparing for Christmas. You know, all the work is done ahead of time. You know, all the shopping and the cooking and that's what training is like. You know, when you launch, that's like Christmas Day. You get, if you did everything the right way, preparing for it, it's all fun.
Jones has already polled his team for a go for launch from a systems perspective, as has the International Space Station Flight Control team, led today by Flight Director Emily Nelson.
This is an incredibly experienced and dedicated team that gets the people on the orbiter.
Okay, Fergie, we're starting to feel pretty good down here on the ground about this one today. So on behalf of the greatest team in the world, good luck to you and your crew on the final flight of this true American icon.
Let's light this fire one more time, Mike, to witness this great nation at its best. The crew of Atlantis is ready for launch.
T-minus 35, 33.
Hold it, T-minus 31 seconds due to a failure.
And all of a sudden, at 31 seconds, it's like, oh, we're stopping. And we all looked around, it's like, huh? What do you mean we're stopping? You don't stop 31 seconds.
The FCC says we need to verify using a camera.
But it's just amazing how seamlessly the entire ground team ended up covering it, and we ended up launching just a few minutes late.
This is CMAC, we verify retracted.
I was like, oh wait, we're launching.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off. The final lift off of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Roger roll, Atlantis. Atlantis, station on the big loop. We have you in sight. Atlantis, arriving. Welcome to the International Space Station for the last time.
Big Russian hug. How you doing, guys?
Good morning, Houston. We are getting ready for undock today. We get to do one last lap with Atlantis around the ISS and then start our trip home.
Undocking confirmed.
Atlantis departing the International Space Station for the last time. It's kind of interesting to be here on the final night of a shuttle mission. Don't quite know what to think. We're just trying to take it all in.
Atlantis Houston, you are go for the deorbit burn, and you can maneuver on time.
Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute. Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history secured, the space shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
Mission complete, Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the space shuttle's earned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.
We copy your will stop, and we'll take this opportunity to congratulate you, Atlantis, as well as the thousands of passionate individuals across this great spacefaring nation who truly empowered this incredible spacecraft, which for 3 decades has inspired millions around the globe. Job well done, America.
You know, it's interesting to be, I guess, a sort of a leader in the Boeing company with the ability to influence not only the design of a spacecraft, but also have an opportunity to talk to a lot of our young engineers. You know, after we successfully complete OFT2, you know, then all eyes are on flying the crew next. And that's going to be really exciting. We're looking forward to that.
So we've got SpaceX flying people. We've got 2 companies ready to do suborbital business here soon. We've got the Artemis 1 launch in the near future. I mean, there's so many things that are now, after this decade, ready to emerge. and really, I think, excite the public about all the great things we're doing in space.
You know, the space shuttle's changed the way we view the world, and it's changed the way we view our universe. There's a lot of emotion today, but one thing's indisputable. America's not going to stop exploring. Thank you, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Endeavour, and our ship Atlantis. Thank you for protecting us and bringing this program to such a fitting end. God bless all of you. God bless the United States of America.
Okay, Gail, can you turn that off? Okay, test. You guys hear me out there? Can you guys hear me? Can I get a clap if you hear me?
We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay, let's go to the next one then. Okay, so now in 2014, NASA awarded, it was $4.8 billion to Boeing, and they gave, was it 3.1 billion to SpaceX, and that was to develop crew carrying capsules that would take us to the space station. And from 2011, when the shuttle shut down, we were ferrying our astronauts to the space station on Russian rockets. And so it was a big deal to get us back, you know, with a capsule from American soil and American rocket. So that was the beginning of basically what's called a commercial crew program now. So what you have is the Starliner, and then there's the Crew Dragon, and these are just put up next to the Soyuz and the Space Shuttle to kind of give you an idea of the sizes. And if you look at like the Starliner, that's lands, it has a land touchdown, meaning that it's going to land not in the water. And all the astronauts that are flying today, unless they've flown recently on a Crew Dragon, have never landed in water, because, you know, we had the shuttle that was in service for 30 years, and that flew and landed like an airplane. So now you got the Crew Dragon that's landing in the water, Starliner on land, Soyuz on land, and those are the three rockets that are potentially going to go to the space station. Well, they all have now. The Starliner, they took that mission up there, and as you all know, those astronauts are still out there at the space, or at the ISS, and supposedly they're going to come home early next month, and we'll see if that happens or not. And here, this kind of gives you a little stack of it. And what I wanted you to see on this is how much money it costs per seat. They're saying that Starliner, if that gets going, it's going to be 58 million per seat. And I kind of doubt that's a good figure. I think they're trying to base that on 6 to 7 passengers instead of the standard 4 that we send up. And Crew Dragon, that's at 58 million. And the Soyuz, they're at 82, and I think they're up to 90 million right now. In the shuttle, I have there that it's 43 million to 214 million. And that discrepancy was whether they were carrying just crew or crew and cargo. So if you take the cost of cargo, that reduces the amount per seat. Okay, so the SpaceX Crew Dragon, that had thrusters on it, and this is part of the abort system. If you remember the old system from the Apollo, it looked like a plunger on top of the rocket, and it pulled the capsule off, where this is pushing it off. And originally, those thrusters were also supposed to land, and this was originally thought to have, the capability to do a land touchdown. But that got, put on the back burner because they wanted to get it certified, and it would have taken a lot longer to certify that new landing technique. So instead, they went to the backup parachutes, which were already redundant on the capsule. So here, SpaceX is going to do an abort test to test that that abort system, or pulling it off the booster. So here I got my camera set up. This is right at the launch pad. This is as close as we can get it. This is on the west side of the complex, or the west side of the launch tower.
How far is it to the rocket?
Here it's probably 200 yards.
Wow. That's all?
That's all. These cameras, they're sound actuated. So as soon as the decibels go up when the engine lights, then it starts taking pictures. So there's the picture that I got of that launch. And this picture, this was a camera on the other side, and this one was about 100 yards away. And this, you have to set the camera to really put it to its limits, where it's the f-stop is like f32 and 1/8,000th of a second. This is called the flame shot.
So the camera is maybe 100 yards away. How far away are you?
Oh, I'm 4 miles away. I'll get to that part. That's why I say it. They have sound triggers on them.
Do you have problems with camera shit? I mean, when this thing goes off, you got all this tremendous noise.
Not for these, but I'll get into that later. When, okay, and then
is this taken during the day or night?
This is during the day. And that's what I'm saying, is because it's set, so. And that's the third one. And usually I get about 7 shots before it's out of the frame. That's a slow camera. It's only 4 to 7 frames per second on this one. These are just throwaway cameras that we use. And this is my handheld camera, well, handheld. I have it on a tripod, and that's with 800 millimeter lens. And that's the other picture. That's when it's clearing the tower. And as I said, this was a test, and everybody knew that it was going to blow up. They were warning everybody to be aware. They warned the town. And so right now, the capsule is being pulled off, and the main booster is blowing up there. And there you can see the capsule is still being guided away from the explosion. So if there was astronauts on there, they'd be okay. And the last pictures of the explosion, I was on top of the vehicle assembly building, and what had happened was the clouds came over, so I couldn't see that part. So as soon as this is the upper stage, because like I said, the main booster blew up, but this is the middle, or the upper stage. And so that was still intact. So that's what was coming down there. And that's a close-up of it. And so after that abort test, Elon Musk, he started getting pretty much involved in building Starbase down in Texas. And the guy on the left there, that's Jim Bridenstine. And they got into kind of a disagreement where Bridenstine, he was putting pressure on Elon, telling him to forget about his Starship. He wanted to get the rocket so he could put the astronauts back to the space station without the Russians. So this was out in Hawthorne, California. This is at their headquarters. I went out there for this meeting. And there you can see Doug Hurley. That's the guy that's right next to Elon. He was the one that flew that last shuttle mission. And as I was saying, to watch those two guys, because Doug, he ended up going to work for SpaceX, and Chris Ferguson, he went to work for Boeing. So the two are both still competing to who to get back to the space station first, either Boeing or SpaceX. And before they left on that last 135 mission, they left a flag right over the door. And it said that only when the next American that comes up to the space station that's launched from American soil can bring that back. And that was capturing the flag. So that was what the two were going after. That was their competition. So there's where the Crew Dragon was at the time of that meeting. So you can see that it had a lot of work to be done on it yet. And that's a close-up of the inside. And those tanks there, those red tanks, those are for the thrusters. That's what gives those thrusters the power. Okay, so now it's all ready to go. We got the capsule, the crew capsule built, it's stacked, and now we're ready to launch with the men on board. And that's Jim Bridenstine again doing the media conference, and that's a mock-up of the Crew Dragon behind them. And there it is, and there was a side door that they had opened up so you could look in it, but I didn't get that picture. And I just threw this picture in because that's Sunny Williams. She's the one that's up on the space station now that was in the Boeing rocket. So she's one of the ones that's still up there. Stranded. We won't call them stuck. They're just stranded, waiting for the ride. And this was from the other side. And if you take a look at the tower there, this is 39A. This is where the Apollo rockets were launched from. But it's all rebuilt because things don't last down in the salty air there, right on the ocean. And these were, this was a night launch for these guys. So that's ignition on the left, and that's liftoff on the right. And that's clearing the tower. And what you guys got to know is that when it's before it clears the tower, it's at launch control, and that's at Kennedy. That's right there. But as soon as it leaves the tower, then that gets transferred over to Houston to mission control. And there's Elon. That was after the successful launch. So he was all happy. He was watching the replay of it in the media center. This was the first time I ever caught him smiling. And this is just another picture of, this is the Crew Dragon. Now, part of the way I can tell it's the Crew Dragon is because it doesn't have the astronaut walkway. It's at a different launch pad. But this is an older picture, and now they do have the second. They converted that, and they made a full launch tower with the astronaut walkway for redundancy.
They always have these 3 or 4 towers around the rocket. What are those towers for, do you know?
Yeah, those are lightning arresters. And some...
Tell them you're talking about the 3 towers. So
yeah, we're talking about the 3 towers. There, guys, you can see, well, there's only 2 in this picture, but there's usually 4. And those are lightning arresters. And there is 3? Okay. And they do, there are pictures of those getting struck. One of my friends, he had his camera. Well, like I told you, we have sound detectors, but they're called MIOPS triggers is the brand name. And they do have a lightning setting where it will capture lightning. And this was the booster coming back from that launch. And what we learned about this booster is you have first, it, you know, it sends it up, and then when it, after it does a separation, it has what's called a boost back burn. And so it actually flips over and then lights the rocket and sends it to come back to the landing zone. And it can either go to the landing zone or go, sometimes they land on the barge, but these were coming back to the landing zone. That's at Cape Canaveral. And so anyways, with this, it did the boost back burn, and it was coming back. And if the boost back burn doesn't go right, they have the flight termination system, well, they'll blow it up. But this one was coming back, and then they have the re-entry burn, and that's like almost straight up above us. I mean, you'd think that it was coming right down on you. And at this point, the grid fins are steering it to get it back, what we thought was to the land, you know, to the landing zone. But actually, the landing point at that part of the landing is offshore for safety. And then once it's coming down, if everything goes right, it'll start dog walking to come over on top of the landing pad. And what happened on this launch is one of the grid fins wasn't working properly, so they weren't able to steer it properly. And so it ended up, it started spinning kind of like a figure skater. And so at that point, we knew something was wrong, because you can actually see it. That's how close we are to it. And it's spinning. And then this next frame, as soon as the legs came out, it's like a figure skater. When they come out of their tuck, it stops spinning. But it did end up out in the water. And what we found out is they do have a type of like plate solving, like we use for our telescopes for the stars. And they know exactly where they're at. So they knew it was going to be in the water. And there we got the Falcon Heavy. And the Falcon Heavy is basically the same main booster with 2 more on the side. So instead of 9, we have 27 engines on that one. And I was up on the VAB for this launch also. And you can see that arrow, that's where I'm at up on the top.
Are you actually in that photograph?
Pardon me?
Are you actually in that photograph?
No. And you can tell that I was on the VAB because you're like looking down at the rocket. And that's actually the best you can do with your camera, because our cameras, we're at such high magnification, it's like our telescope. If you're looking, you know, across more atmosphere, you get all the turbulence when you're on the ground, and you get that air turbulence. So it's a lot better picture, a lot clearer when you're up on top of the VAB. And there's a flame shot again. But this flame shot, this was with my camera that I was up on the VAB with. I just had it switched where it was automatically taking 5 different shots with 5 different exposures, and it would just keep shooting 5 in a row. And there I call this the brush. And here, this was a double landing. So you can see the heat coming off of those boosters as they're landing. The one on the left, it looks like it's landing in the water, but that was just from the angle. And this shot, this is a side shot. This is as it's going away or just right across from me. And this one, I wasn't at the Cape for this one. I went up by Daytona, up on the beach, because I wanted a different shot. Everybody, all the photographers, we all get the same shots. And so, I mean, you can't hardly tell one person's picture from another. So I wanted to try something different. And so I got that wide angle, or the, you know, the side shot on it.
Why those colors?
It's just the way it is. That wasn't me. This one, I I even didn't have my camera set properly. I didn't have it in RAW. So this is just how it came out of the camera. In JPEG.
Nighttime?
No, this was, or yes, this was a nighttime, sorry.
It's the good old glory colors there of the United States. Looks great.
Yeah, at first I thought it had something to do with the Doppler effect because when it was coming at me, it was, I think, more green, and then it started getting more red. It was going. But I don't know if that's true. And this is your typical one from the Cape. So you can see the difference where you're looking like right into it. And that's what we call the jellyfish. In the jellyfish, that's right before the main booster shuts off. And this kind of gives you the idea of why you have a main booster and then an upper stage, is because the main booster, it's made for dense atmosphere, and it's the funnels that are on the rocket are focused, and it's kind of like a hose. When you spray it and you have the fine or the close spray, then it's more forceful, and the further out it gets, the less power it has. So it's not as efficient at this part of the launch. And that's what we call the SpaceX Nebula. This is after separation. You can see the upper stages in towards the bottom, and the rocket, the booster that's doing the boost back, is up on the top. And that usually happens where you can get this type of shot is a few hours after sunset or a few hours before sunrise. Because what happens is that it's dark on the Earth, but the angle of the sun is still hitting that to illuminate it. And it's kind of like putting gasoline or oil on water. You get that sheen. And that's what it is. It's raw kerosene that they use to as thrusters, and then they get ignited. So it's one color right at the beginning, and then it gets to more vivid colors. This all happens in a matter of 1 to 2 seconds. And you can see here, that's still that bright color from that first photo I showed you, but it's getting, out. And that, like here you can see the upper stage and then the booster. And here's the upper stage now, it's further apart. And this is what we call the streak shot. So this is about a 6-minute exposure, timed exposure. And this one, anybody can do this shot. I tell people, if you're going to go to a rocket launch, set your camera up with this, get an intervalometer or whatever you can do to get a 6-minute exposure. And this also can prove to the flat earthers that the Earth is round.
How would that prove it to them?
Well, the rocket's not going down; it's going around. It's following. It's not.
I'm talking. They'll say, "Oh yes, it is going down."
Okay, and here we got the Boeing Starliner, and this was before that mission. And there, what I want you to notice on here is this skirt, they call it. And they had to put that skirt on there for aerodynamics, for how the air comes around it for when it goes supersonic. And whoops, let's go back. You can see how this trunk part is so much bigger than the rocket. And so they were getting turbulence as the air flowed around. And so they put that little skirting on there to try to compensate for that. And if you remember the Apollo days, they had the Airstream where Boeing, they have this van. In SpaceX, they use a Tesla, the Gullwing Tesla for their crew transports. And there's the Boeing Starliner going off. Now this is on an Atlas rocket with solid boosters. So basically, this is old technology. The only thing that's new is the capsule. And the Atlas rocket is using Russian engines. So go figure. That's why they did come up with the new rocket. ULA, that's the Vulcan rocket they're calling it now. And that's all American made. That's going to replace the Atlas V. They have just enough engines. If they would have got a full 6 missions with the Boeing Starliner, they had enough rocket engines for that. And that's up in the air. You can see the solid boosters and the middle booster. Now the solid boosters, there's no throttling back on solid boosters. Once they're lit, they go full force. So you used to hear on the shuttle where they're saying throttle down. And that used to be, they called that max Q, that's maximum aerodynamic pressure. Usually that's right around the speed of sound. But here, all they do is throttle back on that center engine. And that center engine, that's on a gimbal, so that's how they steer it when they're going up. And there, this is probably a little over 100 miles downrange. I was still able to pick that up with my camera and lens. And here's the upper stage lit now, going away. That's the main booster, and these are the 2 side boosters. And now we're at Boca Chica, Texas. This is Starbase. And this is the rocket garden. And I tell you, if you want to go, now's the time to go if you want to see this, because there's really hardly any fences around. This is all what you can see from the road. You can drive right up to this part. And these are some of his older rockets. These are the ones that he built, but then he had a new version before he launched them. So basically they're just scrap. They'll be museum pieces. And this was for flight test 2 that I was down there for. And this over here, this is Hoppy. And that was one of his first test modules that he was testing. That's the first one they got to land. Now it's a water tower. And here's the pictures from the launch. And you were asking about the vibrations. Yeah. Okay, this is my story on that. This is within 200 yards of that launch, the most powerful rocket ever. And where my camera was set up, the first launch, all the cameras got wiped out. The only thing that survived was 2 SD cards, but all the cameras were gone. And when I retrieved my camera after this launch, I got to the first picture and it was blurry. So I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I missed the focus. How could I do that? Because we manually set the focus, we put tape around it. And so I'm thinking, oh man. And so then I get to the next one. This was the next one in the camera. It's perfect. So I'm thinking, what's going on? Then it hit me. It was from the sonic boom, or not the sonic boom, but the sound wave, shock wave that hit the camera, and it caused it to shake, that it was blurry.
So what damaged the camera? Was it heat or was it
heat?
Pressure?
No, it was heat and also debris. And there's my money shot. That was the picture that I started off this project with. for this presentation. And you can see how that cloud is coming right at you. And here, I took this picture because this shows all the engines lit. The first launch, I think they had 6 or 7 engines that didn't light. And so this was the first time, so I called this 33 candles. And there it's going through the sound barrier. And here's the stage separation. And now the problem with this launch is they felt that they didn't have a payload in it. So there was excess fuel in it, and so it was being vented off. And that's what caused this problem. That's the beginning of the explosion here. And you can see this one. And this was like the mushroom cloud coming out of the center.
Now, are you holding the camera for these as it moves?
Yes, the story on this wasn't my good camera that I had with me because I got the invitation to go. And my good camera was in Florida, and I was back up here. And so I had to bring my backup camera. So this was a 200 millimeter lens with the doubler on it. So this was shot at 400. But yeah, as far as this was completely handheld. And what it was, because I was on South Padre Island, and they have a rock break wall, or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't a sandy beach, but it was just a break wall. And so I'm laying on my back on the rocks, kind of like a guy on a bed of nails. And I'm taking them straight up above. And our next one here, this is at the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. And I got the invitation to go down there, and this was for the Parker Solar Probe. You guys that are in the Solar Club, yeah, this is the one that's going to touch the surface of the sun. Well, they say the surface, but to the chromosphere. And that's what it looks like. So you kind of get the size of what that Parker Solar Probe is. And these fold out, and it makes like an umbrella. It's carbon fiber, and that's what keeps the rest of the equipment from getting too hot. And this is on a big elliptical orbit that goes out to Venus, then back. And so it's only close to the sun for a partial orbit. And that way it can cool down and slow down and that. But now I think they got it going over 400,000 miles an hour, I think it is. It's the fastest man-made object ever. And after we had that press conference, it got loaded up in what's called the Super Guppy. In the Super Guppy, that front end opens up, and that can haul big diameter objects. That's been around since Apollo days. This is a newer version. And this was launched on a Delta Heavy, and that was one of probably the last 10 launches for that rocket, and that's another one by ULA. And yeah, these pictures, I'm about 11 miles away on this picture. And there's where it's clearing the tower. And yeah, that's where the Parker Solar Probe is going, just to the outside, to the chromosphere. And now we get to the Artemis. And remember we talked about parachutes on the Crew Dragon. The same company makes all the parachutes for all these companies. And I couldn't find my pictures. I lost the hard drive. But I was out in Yuma, Arizona. They have proving grounds out there for the Air Force. And that's one of the few spots in the country where they have the airspace from the ground all the way to space that planes can't fly in. So they can launch there at any time. And what they did was they put an Orion capsule in the airplane. Then they pushed it out to do the parachute test. They called it the parachute drop test. And what I want you to notice, these up here, those are the mortars. That's where the parachutes are at. And usually that's covered. You don't ever see that. But they use pyrotechnics to blast those out. And when they fold up the parachutes, they're as dense as a log. You know, that's how much they compress them. And the actual, I forgot what they call it, but like the parachute, the silk, we'll just call it the silk. I held my hand, I had the picture of it, like I say, it's lost on that hard drive I lost, but you could see your hand through the material. That's how thin those parachutes are. You'd think they, you know, be like canvas, you know, like a tarp, but they're very, very thin. And this is the main booster coming in for the Orion for stacking.
Looks like it didn't fit.
No, that's it's coming out. So that's coming off of a barge. And here was the rollout. This was the most crowded I've ever seen. The Kennedy Space Center was for this rollout. It wasn't even for the launch. It was just for the rollout, but there were so many people. We could have walked across the road to where this happens from the media center, but we had all our gear in the bus, and it took us 45 minutes to go, like 2 blocks.
There's so many people, you mean?
Yeah, it was just unbelievable how many people were there. It was all officials, you know, family and friends of all the workers that worked on it and stuff. I mean, they had beach balls going and everything. And this is the crawler. You guys probably remember that from the days of Apollo and from the shuttle. And they rebuilt it, but they're using that now for the Artemis. And another name for it is, it's called the rock crusher. And there you can see, looking at the rocks, how smashed they were. I took this picture after it went by. That originally, the crawlerway, that's the 2 tracks, they were asphalt, but the asphalt was too sticky and it wasn't strong enough. And there I took that picture later, just showing the Artemis rocket and the moon in the background. And that's my novelty picture. That's with a 360 camera. And I call that big rocket on a tiny planet. And yeah, so this was the countdown. And this one, this rocket, it got scrubbed, I think 3 times. And this is the only time I've ever lost the camera. And that's because I lost it in the weather. This was during Labor Day. And so it got scrubbed, and then they shut down the Cape for the workers. So I couldn't go retrieve my camera for a week. And so it sat out in the elements. But I don't have the pictures on this. I didn't have the time for it. But we had a tornado. We got stuck in the bus. They had a shelter in place. So we had a tornado. We had a hurricane. That was I think it was on Labor Day. I think that's why that one scrubbed. And so they had to pull it back into the VAB to get it out of harm's way. And, yeah, just everything went wrong on that. These are a friend of mine's pictures. These aren't mine. because I couldn't stay down there until it launched. I ran out of time. And this was the Psyche mission. And when you have the launches to the space station, they're either going north, or some of the other ones launches go south, and that's all to put them in a trajectory. The orbit, like the space station, that covers every part, almost every part of the Earth. I think the only parts it doesn't cover is the North Pole and the South Pole. But all the other ones, they're on an angle around the sun. And the orbit doesn't change. It's the Earth that rotates. And so that's how it sees every part of the Earth, is because, you know, as it's going around, the Earth is rotating. So what I wanted to show in this picture, you see my other streak shot where it was, you know, or it was going that way. That was going north. That was a shuttle supply mission. Where this one, it looks like it's going straight up, but it's not actually going straight up. It was just going straight away from me, due east. And so it's going up, but it's also coming back down in the same exact spot. But it just looks like it's a spike. And just some fluff pictures for you guys to see. These are the cameras right at the launch pad.
How did you get into this line of business? Did you go to NASA and apply for a job like this? I'm just kind of curious how.
Okay, that always comes up.
Tell the online audience what the question was.
Okay, did you guys hear the question? The question was, how did I get into this, doing this? Well, it all has to do with volunteering. In first, like in my bio, I do the presentations at Henry Ford College, the planetarium. And at the planetarium, we use a lot of NASA videos or images to put on the dome. And so from there, I became what's called a Museum Alliance member. That's with NASA. And then they start doing some extra training. And then from there, as Jeff still here? Oh,
He's gone.
Okay, I became a solar system ambassador with NASA. And then that spawned into doing more volunteer work. And I ended up doing a couple conventions with the old Apollo astronauts, where I would introduce them before their talks. And so from that, I talked with one guy, and he kind of got me thinking that I should try to get credentialed and do the photography. And so then I did that. I put in my application, and then it took me about 2 years. And the other part, I volunteer, I do a TV show. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Astronomy for Everyone. That's the Ford Club, puts that TV show out. And it's a monthly show. And so that was my in with media. They sponsored my paperwork. And so I was able to get in. But things got kind of sticky about that. And anyways, being our TV show is at Wyandotte Cable. And we had one of our congresswomen, Debbie Dingell, she would do her town halls from there. And so the photographers, they're kind of territorial. And so they were trying to get me out of there because the locals didn't want me coming in and taking their spots away, because the media spots are, you know, few and not everybody can get into it. And so they tried to run me out. And so Debbie Dingell, she got involved, and she sent me over to the representative for my area, which is Haley Stevens. And so being that NASA is a government entity, the Congress people can get involved if it's within government agencies. And so they got me my credentials back. So that's a long story. And that's just another, I think this is my last image. Yeah, that's it. Oh. Yes.
So you could get your cameras up close and you not quite so close to the fire and all that.
4 miles is about the minimum that they feel for safety.
Is that how close the general public can get?
No.
How about the general public? Where are they?
General public, you can get about 7 to 11 miles. Some of the best spots you can go to is right on at Kennedy. You can go to the Saturn exhibit. The Saturn, that's where the Apollo Saturn rocket is. And that's good for rockets that go from launch pad 39A and 39B. So that would be the SpaceX rockets or the Artemis. But the rest, it all depends what rocket's going off, what the best spot to go to is, because you can either be south of the launch pad or north, and it just depends which way the rocket's going, what's the best spot. But for most people, the 2 spots I tell them to go to is Jetty Park, that's on the south. And to the north, it's Veterans Memorial Park or Max Brewer Bridge.
And so that's in terms of where people can be.
Yes.
I assume the general public can't get their camera set up anywhere close to the rocket.
No. No, but really the only pictures like I showed you were with right at the launch pad, but after it leaves the launch pad, I mean, like I said, that other picture was 100 miles down range. The one where you had the side view, that was by Daytona. So anywhere along the ocean, you guys are good to go with the picture. And you can even get that streak shot. I've taken them on the ocean. And, just depends which way it's going, whether I want to set up.
When you're 4 miles away, can you feel the run?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's that crackle that you hear and you feel. I mean, there's just nothing like it. I watched a video about that where they say that crackle has to do with the sound waves coming off the tips of the thrust coming out of the flame. But when I showed you that picture with the double booster return coming back from the Falcon Heavy, like I said, I was on top of the VAB. And so, that's not a solid roof, it's, just like a rubber coated roof. And so anyways, when the sonic booms hit, it felt like I was on a trampoline and it like lifted me up off my feet. Wow. And yeah, you can, the sonic boom, it's kind of like if you're downtown Detroit at the fireworks and you hear, the concussion going off the buildings down there. That's kind of like what a sonic boom is, but only more intense. Yeah.
I'm a retired professional photographer. Did you ever do any work with this as far as like putting out a picture book or storybook or anything like that?
No, the only thing I gave away some calendars at Christmas, and then I had that one flame shot where I had the 3 flames. Well, I did a picture where I took 2 of those, and it was, I forgot the term they call it, but it's that flip-flop picture where when you look at it at a certain angle, and so you could see the rocket going off on the one picture.
Hey, I have a question. wanted to thank you for coming out.
Sure.
We've had a lot of interesting presentations. That was one of the most interesting for me. And
I'm glad to hear that.
when you had that one shot that was knocked off focus, you were close. How close were you? The next shot was beautiful. The first one was knocked out of focus from the explosion. How close were you? That looked really close.
They were less than 200 yards from.
That's
rocket.
ridiculous. How do you not get fried?
No, that's not me.
Oh, you leave the camera, of course.
Yeah, the cameras, they have a sound trigger on it. You can look it up. It's called the MIOPS trigger.
All right.
And it plugs into your camera just like an intervalometer would. And but it goes by sound, and you set it for how many decibels.
Perfect.
And then once it hits that, then it starts firing your camera. And I have one camera that I can get 14 frames a second. And then my handheld one, though, that's a really good camera. So that one I don't put at the launch pad. That's a $6,000 camera.
Yeah, when I heard you say you could be 4 miles away and still feel that, that's amazing. I mean, really. That's a big fire.
Yeah, like tracking devices on the mounts or anything, so there's a ships don't you can track them or anything, it would just.
That's I haven't put that together yet. There's one guy that I know. Well, there's two that I know of now, and the third is the one that writes the software for it. But he started out using LX200 cameras or telescopes, and he set up the tracking software for it. And there's a guy that he's a subscription to his software, but he puts out for every launch. He'll put out the tracking for it because mostly all the launches are the same. And so he puts trajectories, and so it's set up where they can follow the rocket, even if it goes in the clouds, it keeps on tracking it because it's all in the software. But yeah, his uses the same thing like you guys use for tracking the stars. It's just the tracking camera on your regular camera.
Okay, well, let's thank our speaker again. So, this was, let me, my sound turned back on. Get it back on. Okay, I hope people can hear me. So it's our custom, as most of you know, to this was astronomy, then we do gastronomy at a local restaurant. We were going to one on Groesbeck near here, Coney Island, but that one changed their hours. They now close at 9 o'clock. So the one we go to is another Coney Island. You go east from here on 12 Mile Road and then turn right or north on Van Dyke. And it's, I don't know, half a mile on the right, National Coney Island. And Tina says, we got a choice when we go there. If you go into the regular restaurant part, they close at 10. But there's a bar there that stays open until a lot later, but you can order the same food there. So the thought is, let's go to the bar. I'm not encouraging people to get drunk or any of that stuff, okay? But that way we're not rushed to leave. So the other thing is, don't forget the next star party at Stargate Observatory is in 2 days on Saturday, if the weather's, especially if the weather's good. Our next board meeting normally would be this coming Monday, but with Bob's family situation, that may change. And other than that, you're welcome to come along to the restaurant. Thank-
Will you volunteer to bring the scopes to Canberra?
Yeah, does anybody currently know if they're gonna come to Cranbrook?
So, I mean, last time they had 5 and they had 3 scopes there, there was long lines,
Yeah,
so we need help.
I'm gonna bring my scope again.
okay. I'm planning to come. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Good night.